Well, thank you for having us. I think I'm going to start off.
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about the Board of Regents
Yep.
funding. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm proud of the fact that for the first time in 35 years, we've had no increase in in-state tuition for Iowa students going to our state regents institutions. You know, I'm a graduate of the University of Iowa. I went there in the late 60s. Came from a relatively poor family in northern Iowa. They didn't have the money to send me to college. So I worked construction work during the summers, and I worked during the cafeteria during the school year. And I was pretty frugal. Plus, well, I hitchhiked back and forth to school, actually. I also got student loans, and got to say that I never missed a payment, but I didn't have my last student loan paid back till after I was governor. So I'm very sensitive to the costs, and I know the cost of higher education went up dramatically in that 12-year intervening period before I came back as governor. There were years during the Vilsack administration they increased tuition 18 and 19%. So we've had 2 years in a row no increase in tuition for in-state residents, and then the Board of Regents they had a task force that they appointed about a year ago, and they made some recommendations to update the formula for the distribution of appropriations by the state to the 3 state university regents institutions. I think they approached this in a very thoughtful way. Also, I was pleased that in response to the concerns expressed by the University of Iowa faculty, they did amend and give more credit for graduate student education as part of the change in the formula. It's also going to be phased in over a period of time, and also they're also doing a comprehensive study on, and this hasn't been done for probably 30 years, on an audit, I guess you might say, an organizational audit of the institutions. And all of the savings will stay with the universities, will be reinvested. And it's my understanding they've identified significant areas where there can be substantial savings or maybe better utilization of the facilities by having some more classes on Fridays or weekends or things like that, so they better utilize the facilities. It costs a lot of money to build new buildings, or it even costs a lot of money to refurbish buildings. So the more effectively we can utilize the buildings that we already have, the huge investments we made in the universities, the better it's going to be.
Does any of it concern you, the fact that it's going to favor universities that are recruiting more in-state students? Does any of that concern you?
These are state universities, and so the fact that the taxpayers of Iowa are subsidizing the universities, I don't think that we should be subsidizing out-of-state students. I think instead, since they're state universities and supported by the taxpayers of Iowa, it makes sense to me that a focus should be on giving higher educational opportunities for Iowa in-state students. I understand the need for diversity and the need to have out-of-state students and international students at our universities. But I think if you look back to what's happened over the last 40 or 50 years, and they have not changed the allocation formula for that period of time, that there's been a substantial growth in out-of-state students. Out-of-state students pay a much higher tuition, which means the university that has more out-of-state students has a financial advantage over the institution that is primarily serving Iowa students, and yet these are state universities. So I think the regents decided that they needed to update the formula, but instead of just putting it in effect in 1 year, they're phasing it in over a period of years, so it reduces the impact that it would have. To me, I think it's a thoughtful approach. They appointed a former regent who had been chairman of the Board of Regents to chair this committee, and I guess my feeling is that They also did respond to the concerns expressed, and I met with the University of Iowa faculty, and they expressed concerns that there needed to be more consideration given for the graduate education that the University of Iowa provides, and they did that. So, it's never, change is always difficult, and yet I think that the change that they're advocating, that the regents are looking at implementing, is something will probably be pretty well received by most Iowans who feel that their state universities ought to focus on providing not only a great education but opportunities for Iowa students.
Are there any changes that you would like to see to the proposal before it reaches you?
Well, I do respect the independence of the Board of Regents. As governor, I get to appoint regents. They serve a 6-year period, that 6-year term. So over the course of 4 years, I can appoint 2/3 of the members of the Board of Regents. But I've always respected the independence of the regents, that the legislature and the governor should not be micromanaging our state universities, because that could amount to the interference with academic freedom. So that's why we have Board of Regents. And some states have a separate board for each university. I think it's good that Iowa has a unified Board of Regents, so they look at the whole picture of all 3 of the universities, plus the 2 special schools, the School for the Deaf and the School for the Blind. And I think the system has worked well for us. I do think, however, the formula has been outdated for some time, and it's never easy to change, but I think the regents are doing the right thing in trying to come up with a new formula that is performance driven and designed to help make higher education more accessible and more affordable for Iowa students.
Thank you.